¿Qué pasó con Brett Favre?
Se hirió la pierna.
¿De veras? ¿Cuándo regrese para jugar?
Tiene que recuperar algunos meses. ¿Qué pasa con Brett Favre? What's going on with Brett Favre? In this case, it's a little different from the dialogue because ¿qué pasa is kind of what's going on now, as opposed to ¿qué pasó? Whereas what's happened to him, as in the dialogue, because you already know something happened to him, but you don't exactly know what. So here is just another way of saying that sometimes they're interchangeable, but in this case, in the dialogue we used ¿qué pasó?, in the past tense because we know it's something that happened to him already, instead of what's going on with him now. ¿Sabes qué pasó con Brett Favre? Do you know what happened to Brett Favre? In this case, we added a little difference. ¿Sabes qué pasó? Do you know what happened? Because in this case, you can also say this to friends, maybe teenagers. But in this case, it makes it a little bit more formal, something that adults might say rather than teenagers. In general, a lot of times, language is just simplified. And there are less words when you say, ¿Qué pasó con Brett Favre? Instead of saying something a little longer like, ¿Sabes qué pasó con Brett Favre? So, it might be something that adults might say. They are a little bit interchangeable, but it seems a little bit more formal to say, do you know what happened with so-and-so, as opposed to what happened to that kind of a thing. So a little bit more formal, but yeah, technically, if you argued about it, they could be interchangeable. ¿Qué sucedió con Brett Favre? What happened to Brett Favre? This one I just wanted to bring up in the supplemental vocabulary because it does mean what happened to Brett Favre, but it's really formal. It's like something you'd see in a newspaper or magazine article. It's not really something people would say in spoken Spanish, especially not teenagers. Maybe in a meeting or conference for business, they might use the verb suceder. It kind of means to succeed, or really it means to occur. So in English, if you could imagine somebody saying, "What has occurred with Brett Favre?" People wouldn't really say that. But yes, it does mean what happened to Brett Favre. It's just more formal. Se hirió la pierna. He hurt his leg. I just wanted to bring this one up because in English we wouldn't say it this way, but in Spanish that's just how they understand it. Literally it means himself hurt the leg. It's just one of those verbs in Spanish called a reflexive verb that actually talks about itself. So the leg hurt itself. In Spanish they understand that the same way we would understand he hurt his leg. But there are several verbs in Spanish that act that way, and that's, just one of them. This is that verb herirse, that means to hurt oneself, that in the very last explanation, se hirió la pierna. It's just that verb that we have to use that way to hurt itself rather than he hurt his leg. It's the leg hurt itself or injured itself, that kind of an idea. ¿De veras? Really? Seriously? This is just one of those phrases they use. It literally means of real, but they use it in cases where you might be saying, "Wow, did you see that? He just jumped off the roof," and somebody might not really totally believe you, so they'll say, "Really?" or "Really?" or "Wow, I just, won the lottery. Seriously?" That kind of a thing. They'll say, ¿De veras? ¿Cuándo regresa para jugar? When does he come back? Literally it means when he returns to play. I brought this up because the verb regresar means to come back or to return. But when it's used in Spanish, it requires another word that comes with it, which is para or a. So it almost seems redundant in our mind as an English speaker because it means come back to, and then jugar by itself means to play. But that's just how it is in a Spanish speaker's mind. It has to be used with the a or para. And here's that verb regresar again. Just reminding you that it's one of the verbs in Spanish that needs the verb a or para after it. Tiene que recuperar algunos meses. I brought this up because tiene que in Spanish always means has to. Literally it means have that or have what, but they always use that construction for has to. Algunos meses, unos meses, they both mean some months, but in this case to a native Spanish speaker's ear they would just use algunos meses. There's no reason why. It just sounds better in this case to a native. And here we are one last time with the dialogue.
¿Qué pasó con Brett Favre?
Se hirió la pierna.
¿De veras? ¿Cuándo regresa para jugar?
Tiene que recuperar algunos meses.